to the Ramon Foster Show. He's Ramon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic here in Pittsburgh. And what's going on, Ramon? How was Christmas?
It was solid, man. Nothing over the top. Good time. I got an opportunity to chill. Not chilly like the people that were in Acrisure Stadium, but I was chilling, though, DK. What about you, man?
I was chilling, and then I was illin', Moan, as you can hear. You can hear for a little bit. Yeah, it's wife's over here shaking her head at my rhyming ability. Next thing you know, I'm going to have do a rap album or something, right?
Tell her, you grew up in the 80s. You understand Ron DMC and everybody else. Tell her, come on, man.
No, I only understood the Aerosmith portion of that. That was about it.
The merge of rap and rock, man. Hey, don't start that thread. We'll have the entire comment section talking about 80s rock rap.
Moan, this has been an interesting weekend for the fan base of this football team, to say the least. It was emotional on all spectrums.
Yeah.
And what happened here, you made reference to it, the people who were freezing here, the 40,000 that just stuck it out and would not leave until their team won the game. And then their team won the game. And I know you have strong thoughts on this.
I do, man. And a few of them just to start with, though, DK.
Yeah.
Just this, man. Of course, you know I do radio here in Nashville, and some of the stations or some of the shows have betting experts. There's betting experts everywhere, and it was, one particular person in general was like, I smell, there was Pittsburgh's going down. I don't care. And I was thinking to myself, this guy doesn't understand Pittsburgh. That's all I can say. I actually text somebody during that segment. I was like, oh, this is foolish. I'm sorry, but we don't lose these types of games because DK, that culture, they understand these moments and nothing was given. They had to go take it, right? The other thing I said was this group had a moment, DK. They had a moment, legitimately backs up against the wall, youngest ever when it comes down to offensive play, trying to figure out what to happen. But what we saw this past weekend, the drive, the poise, the playmaking, the touchdown from Pickett to Pickens. That was the moment, man. And every group has those. I could probably reel off a couple of them, and I'm sure you know more than I do when it comes to transitioning. What I'm saying, I don't think this necessarily means everything is about to be just peaches and herbs moving forward, because there's still some growth to be had. But to say that you had a rookie quarterback connect with a rookie wide receiver the way they did in a game like that, on a night like that, in the weather like that, that to me says that P word that coaches look for, potential. That's what we saw this past weekend. Even if it was ugly, we saw that.
I'll take it further, because on that drive, you also had enormous contributions from Pat Freiermuth, second-year guy. You had the big catch and run by Najee Harris. You had an offensive line that Kevin Dotson told me, he said, we had no choice but to take this team down the field. That was his view from the offensive line. We had no choice but to take this team down the field. I'm going to read you this. It's from Mike Tomlin at his Tuesday press conference. He said, you're going to like this one a lot, Mo.
Give it to me, DK. Come on, man.
When you're in those weighty moments and you're looking around at people, you like to feel their presence. In a lot of instances, I did. I didn't see big eyes. I saw sure eyes. I saw guys who understood what was at stake and guys who looked prepared to go do it. Now, you got to go do it.
Yeah.
But I like the feel of the group leading up to it.
DK.
That's your head coach.
That reminds me of the stuff that he used to do with us. When you see it. He didn't used to say anything to us in these moments. And that's what makes this guy a great coach, despite what the masses think. The coaching aspect, the motivating aspect of it, DK, when everything, kind of fizzles out in the end, you'll say he has that it factor. And yes, it misses every once in a while and it needs a tune up, but he walk up and down that sideline with us on those types of drives. Ben be on the far right side of all of us. And you have Marcus next to me. You have me. You have Al or Pounce. And then you have Dave. And he leave Ben alone. He walked to us and just dap. Look us dead in our eyes. Wouldn't say anything. Just fist pound, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump. And just go about your way. That's when you know you got something that can't be coached. That's when you know you got something. Like I said, for that moment that Kenny them had this weekend, and it's crazy I'm saying Kenny them, right? Because now, like, to me, that kind of pushes him to a different threshold of like it being him and them together, starting with the quarterback. But they had that moment, DK. And for all the Steeler Nation at night, whether you had tickets and sold them, whether you were watching it at home, whether you was watching it on your phone, everybody to a person that's part of Black and Gold did what after that touchdown? You celebrated. You jumped up and down. It's like, man, not on Franco's night. And I think that's significant in the growth of a team because everybody wants validation in the game, right? As a writer, DK, as a journalist, you want validation of getting your first like article or you starting your own company, right?
You want scripts that play out like this because the validation comes from what you mentioned as a writer or whatever it is, from whatever perspective it is. We have a belief in Pittsburgh, in this football franchise, and in the connection between the football franchise and the city. And when something like this occurs, when Arthur Millette tells me that all through the game he was making these little heart-shaped gestures to the crowd, okay, because he was letting them know how much he loved them for being out there and sticking it through.
Sir.
We're talking about something different, We're talking about something that, with all due respect to your comrades in Nashville and other places,
I know
that ain't this. Okay,
it's different.
This is different. This is different. And for the team to go out there, but also from the players, like you said, for the young players, you said, and I really like this, that they had their moment. That's something that again Kevin Dotson brought up with me, where he said we had that, we did it, we knew we needed to do it, and then we went and did it. And I feel like this is going to be something that launches us to something else. Now, like you said, and like the coach said, that doesn't mean it's linear. It doesn't mean all of a sudden they just become okay, but it's a big step.
I could take it a step further, like those moments in which we had. You remember the Super Bowl run that we went on in the fall and winter of 10? You remember watching those games, the Baltimore playoff games specifically, where all of us walked past that live ball. You remember that? And we nobody picked it up. Baltimore ran it in for a touchdown. And it was in like one of those moments for us that really solidified, okay, we got a real shot at this thing. Because on that winning drive, and the defense, the way they played, and special teams, like, we found a way. To me, that was our moment. AB catch on the helmet. That was one of those moments. I'm sure we can talk about this in the next section of when you saw other phases of this team have those like moments, though, DK.
So much more to come in our next segment. So much, Mo. There's so much. You almost don't even know where to start. At the same time, you don't want to overstate it. They're 7-8. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. And yet there is goodness. You wanted to see progress. You wanted to see them feeling better about themselves.
Yes. And there was a lot that kind of went into that. By the way, the guys up front did their thing as far as performance-wise, too. And to me, DK, when I speak about this moment, I'm more proud of it for them, no matter how it shapes up moving forward next year. I almost look at it and say Mason Cole's situation kind of solidifies him a little bit. I think James Daniel does. I think Chooks does too. Whatever this left side kind of turns into, I flirted with the idea they can go get a tackle depending on how they feel about it moving forward. Also, offensive coordinator wise, but just in general, to kind of see this group kind of piece together. No sacks in a game where it was a night game and there was so much pressure surrounding it, and they delivered, right? Even in the run game.
Max Crosby, too, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't nothing crazy as far as the run game goes. It was just consistent enough. You feel me? Like there was a lot. Yeah, Max Crosby being on the other side of this thing. There was a lot of just check marks I feel like that was filled out this past weekend. But of watching the passing game, though, between Deontay, between George, I think moving forward with the way George, and he broke it down in the postgame. I saw your video of you asking him just like it was too high, split down the middle, and that understanding and maturity of NFL defenses, him and Kenny being on the same page, Again, can't overstate the moment itself because it was huge. That was the game-winning touchdown, right? But it's also listen to what they're saying and how they're reacting. The reactions on the sidelines, the celebration from one another too, and the way the defense came together. Also, don't ever snub Cam Hayward on a Pro Bowl again because he went ballistic. All of that together, though, DK, man, was that's a real good weekend. That was a Merry Christmas from your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds you so much of what the the good is and what the connection is, as I mentioned in the opening segment, with the community. After the Mike Tomlin press conference over at Acrisure Stadium was the viewing for Mr. Harris, at which there were countless Steelers fans showing up to pay their respects. The team itself over there, and Moan, I know you got to see the ceremony from afar.
Yeah,
brief. But, oh, my goodness. I mean, you want to talk about powerful. Yeah. What a scene, huh?
It was, man. And it was the right thing to do. Of course, the Rooney family always does that right. I remember when Chuck Noll passed away, I didn't make the service on that because I was such a young guy and that didn't understand what it was. But when Mr. Rooney passed away, how they were just efficient and just respectful in every aspect of that also. And for Franco's situation, the amount of guys that came back, I thought one of the coolest things was seeing Frenchie. You know what I'm saying? Just be him. Like, I've never actually met Frenchie Fuqua, but the way I saw him react this weekend said Frenchie Fuqua to me. If you've never been in the facility upstairs where the meeting rooms are, there's one unique picture on the wall of running backs. It's got Franco. It's got everybody up there. Bus is up there. But there's 33. One guy up there, Frenchie Fuqua. I think it's a white jacket that he's got on and just cool as Frenchie Fuqua would ever be, because that was him. And the Steelers organization always allowed players to be themselves, which is one of the main perks of being in that organization too. And you look back and you see Frenchie just donned in I think it's a white jacket, and he's just super fly in his picture, and everybody else is in their uniform. Super cool.
So funny to me whenever you hear older fans now will complain about Juju this and Flair this much. These guys, they weren't like this in the 70s. The hell they weren't. Anyone who has an accurate memory, those Steelers from the 70s were the flashiest, most flamboyant, in your face group of individuals. L.C. Greenwood had goldfish in the heels of his shoes.
Yes.
You know why they called Ernie Arrowhead Holmes? Do you know why?
What? No, why?
Because he had an arrow in his head. He had an arrow shaved into his head.
Yeah.
It's funny how everybody has just conveniently forgotten.
Yeah.
He was shooting at a helicopter or something in Latrobe from St. Vincent College. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, this is stuff that, like, if this happened today in the social media era, people would be like, whoa, those Steelers or whatever. But now we have this image. Even the Swan and Stallworth. When Lynn Swan and John Stallworth, when they would get it, one or the other would have a touchdown, they had a coordinated celebration in the end zone. Yeah. They were among the first to ever have that. We have forgotten this conveniently.
Yeah, or just in general, the boneheadedness of anybody too. But I'll say this though, DK, this is how and why that's able to sustain in Pittsburgh. Or honestly, that's why it's truthfully just a part of the culture. One, because you win and you kind of produce too. That's a portion of it. Like these guys dating celebrities. I remember hearing Mel Blount and Stallworth I've read some of them, they dated like big time celebrities and stuff. I'm like, yo, this is all a part of everything we've always seen. They Terry win. Bradshaw. They won.
Terry Bradshaw was in a very famous marriage with was her name JoJo Starbuck?
Or the fact that I learned here in Nashville, Terry Bradshaw has a country music album.
Oh yeah.
While playing. Okay.
Even then, like when they say Chuck Noll would have never tolerated that level of undisciplined. Okay, go find the footage from the Cleveland game where one of the Browns knocks down Roy Gerella, the kicker.
Yeah.
And Lambert comes up from behind and just like pile drives him like WWE style into the ground.
Yeah.
Takes the penalty. You know why no one cared?
Why?
They were winning. They were champions. It was all awesome. Everything they did was pristine and golden.
Yeah.
You know, but we totally now it's there's no discipline, players coach.
Exactly. And let's circle back to where it started from. Like, we're seeing Frenchie Fuqua enjoy himself in celebration of his friend, his teammate, right? And this is the other portion of it, though, too. You look at all the historical stuff that happened around Franco, and everybody talk about a social media following. Franco's army, Franco's Italian army. That's social media before we got to that point. Like,
before it even existed. Yeah. Who had a group chat in the 1970s, right?
Exactly. So it was good seeing a bunch of that in remembrance of him, remembrance of Franco, man. Just all of that, man. And to cap it off,
the best fan. I have to interject.
Go ahead.
The best fan group of all time, though. I just mentioned Roy Girella.
Yeah,
Girella's Gorillas.
For
who
real?
Actually show up at Three River Stadium wearing gorilla masks. You can't top Girella's Gorillas. Go ahead.
No, you cannot, man. But that goes to the history of this team for sure, right? And and I think this is why always the running back is important. I think Mean Joe Green, as he like to be called these days, Joe Green, appreciated his teammate Franco by even saying it. We didn't become a Super Bowl team until Franco got in town. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why that city always relies on the running game being a thing. That's why it's always who's the running back conversation and the expectation of that position. That's why it was always kind of cool to see Franco come back and talk to Le'Veon, Mewelde Moore, Rashad Mendenhall, James Conner. You see what I'm saying? Willie Parker. Like, I saw these conversations happen, and that's why it's so important.
And he does it now with Najee Harris and Warren and everybody else. He was doing it this year too. So, when we come back, the only segment that matters.
Hey, Mo.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, and the only segment that matters, which is brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market, where quality is at the core of every menu item. 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub, burger, salad, wrap, drink, and app is crafted for craveability. Order your favorite entry at the Get Go Cafe and Market today. Better believe it. Moan, before we get to today's Hey Moan, and it's a good one.
Yeah.
I just have to bring up this chopper thing again because when we're getting to the break here, and I think you're doubting me. I think you're like, wait a second, somebody did what? They shot at a chopper, and they did. I mean, you guys have always been defensive about helicopters over Latrobe, though.
We have. We're always looking up to see, okay, who knows what. And it's supposed to be integrity in the game, of course. That's the reason apparently that's why camp is open and free, because if it's open and free, you're not allowed to record and like use it as film and tape and stuff, from what I was told. If you paid, I guess that means you're commissioned to be able to do what you want to in those practices. But you're right, though. Guys are always looking, especially on the South Side, too. I always, no matter what, Patriots week, there was always this one particular car waiting right there by the FBI building.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, know.
Actually, I've forever jokingly referred to that building as Ravens headquarters. but like, you're picturing this chopper with like this giant head of Bill Belichick on the front, and it's actually Belichick himself flying the chopper.
Yeah.
Even though they don't play you this year, it's an opportunity to cheat, you know?
Can I say this too about that? In some of those years, guys did get a little paranoid and be like, Coach, it's Patriots week, man. We got to go inside. Like, that was a conversation, whether he took us serious or not. We did move and like,
I don't doubt that.
Those big blinds up on the South Side now.
About. Yeah.
It's part of it.
I have no doubt about that. Yeah.
Because you just, in that era, of course.
That
conversation was always weird.
I found out how much those things cost. Those blinds that you're talking about.
I'm
not going to share it publicly, but it was a lot. It was a
For,
lot.
for the integrity of the game, TK. You just
Yeah,
never know
'cause
what's
those
going
are
on in those buildings.
those are real live giant 40-foot steel girders. Those don't come cheap,
With
you know?
cement foundations that's as round
Yes.
as,
It's
they go deep in the
it
ground.
it's as Harbaugh/Belichick proof as you can get. Let's go to our how did we get
Look at
back onto
us.
this?
Look at
I
us,
know, right?
man. Talking about conspiracies and the Patriots and Ravens. All right, I'm for that
Come on.
conversation.
This is fun.
It
This
is.
is
It's that
this is
time of the
what
year.
this is
Because we got
supposed to be
flex
about.
this week, too, for a Sunday night football game. Boy, I want to beat the Ratbirds. We'll save that, though.
Nolan Seifert has today's entry, and Nolan says, "Hey, Mo, I know you kind of touched on this a bit, but in a game like the one this past weekend where there's such a strong emotional connection, did the players feel, as though somehow the game would find a way to work out perfectly and you'd find a way to win it no matter what?"
Ooh, good one. That's on par with what we've been
There's
speaking
a bit
of.
of but there I see what he's saying. Like, on one
Yeah.
hand, you want to say there's some kind of fate or something involved, but on the other hand, like Mike Tomlin said, you still have to make it happen.
To take it from him, there's nothing mythical about it. Okay, like I don't think, because nobody had over 100 yards. There was no ball bounce. Cam Sutton had a heck of a interception, though. The read on that was good.
How about Willie Maysing at the end?
I know that was good. But as Coach T tell us all the time, there's nothing mythical about what happens inside the stadium other than your play and effort. I do believe the understanding of the effort, opportunities kind of presenting themselves. And I joked a second ago at the end of the last segment by saying having the ticked off Cam Hayward contributed to it also.
Oh, my.
I knew when it happened. I said, Cam gonna be ticked. I knew it. I could spot it. And to see who he was outbid by too as far as the Pro Bowl, I was like, I know he gonna be ticked, because we talked about that one particular guy in this past summer when it came down to Cam's top 5 slotting. I knew he was gonna have a game like that. But it's this though. A lot of the time in those transitions, whether it be groups or whether it's teams, you have to have a level of understanding what it takes. And I think that's what happened this past weekend when it comes down to, hey, there's something in front of you guys in recognition of Franco. You know, whether he was here to see the game or, you know, in his afterlife, there was a pressure that's applied to it. Me personally, I look at this and I kind of say, there's a group of guys on that team now that that understand what type of strains it take to actually play and win. You know what I'm saying? Like that offensive line group. They had to strain. They had to figure out what it takes to play and win. I think Kenny Pickett was a part of that group that, hey, it ain't just walking out there because I'm a first rounder. You got to actually apply yourself. It actually has to be some emotional attachment to the game to actually go out there and play it as hard as you do. I think watching George Pickens play this past weekend and Pat Frymuth, like if I was in that locker room, like moving forward for these next couple of weeks, I would tell guys this. Like, whatever you did that game to tap in to be a pro, like, that's the baseline moving forward. You know, it's to start, like, to win a starting position, it's one thing in camp. And then you get to the season, you realize, man, I better get it together. And then you have that one game where you're like, oh, this is how I play. There's, like, learning curves and all of this stuff. I think that group kind of understood what the strain is. Like, it ain't just getting in the batter's box and swinging, right, DK? It's understanding what the pitcher's sending to you. It's understanding like what pitches you're good at. Like, and I correlate that to that because baseball is such a failure sport, right? And you understand that a whole lot.
Yeah, it
so
sure
with like
is.
Football, like I look at this team and I don't think because the transition happened so quick that they understood what it actually takes to get to those points of how you win games. You know, I've always correlated when we went 0-8 basically. 0-4 in the in the preseason in 2012, and then we went 0-4 to start the season off. And I think a lot of people thought that just because we 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, oh, we just go out there and play because we're on the coattails of Hines and Ben and blah, blah, blah. No, it actually takes something to play and win and compete.
Yeah, I like the way you worded it there. I actually pictured a video game in my head when you were talking about establishing a new floor. You picture when you have one of those video game characters and then you
Yeah.
jump up to the next level, but then you stay on that level. And that level becomes your new floor. If you're the Steelers and you're going into Baltimore and you're either the head coach or the coordinators or the positional coaches especially, what you've got to be exhorting your players to do here is, hey, that thing that you did in the second half against the Raiders, that's got to be your new norm. If you did it that one time right then and there because you felt that confident or you felt that good, there's no reason for you not to do it today 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And it's super unique to me to think it's mythical, because it's not. Like, even it's so, I commend you for asking like George Pickens that question, because for him to mentally, the physicality aspects of his play, you say, man, this dude's one of the best athletes on the team. Would you not, DK?
Oh, boy.
To have him elaborate to you, he said nothing physical about that play. It was all mental. And that right there is a separator of wins and losses, good and great, starter and non-starter.
That's it. George made the read. George ran the right route. George bounced off the guy to the right, came back inside, and he was open. Say what you want. Kenny threw a perfect ball.
He did. He did, though.
He crushed that seam. That was one of those, I can tell you from the press box, Moan, the moment it comes out of his hand. Did you? Okay. The moment it comes out of his hand, it's a touchdown.
Yep.
Okay. Barring George dropping it, which you know isn't going to happen. The moment it comes out of his hand, I'm going to throw in another baseball, since you've brought up a couple yourself today, and since your lad is pitching these days.
Yeah.
They teach pitchers to pitch with conviction, to put conviction behind a pitch. Like, what the hell does that mean, right? Think about that. Like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Do you believe in the pitch or do you not believe in the pitch? Do you believe that when you release this ball that it's going to have a positive outcome by the time it gets to where it needs to go? Mm-hmm. It's such an enormous part of pitching. Quarterbacking is no different. It's got a higher rate of success.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you release that ball, Kenny has to believe in his heart of hearts that thing is right on the money, that it is 6 as far as he's concerned.
Gosh. DK, when I saw it release, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to say, I said, damn, as far as like how fast it came out though too. It wasn't that a missile?
But why? Because they might not have shown on TV, but off to Kenny's left, Najee was just out there for a swing outlet. I mean, he was just out there just waiting. He was the safety valve, okay?
Yeah.
And all we've seen from this offense for 2 years now is the safety valve getting hit, okay? So
the dump off.
I'm not going to lie. My eyes locked in on Najee.
Did they?
Initially. Yeah, because I thought, well, there's no way it's not going there, okay? But then when you see the way he threw it, like you said, and it was a bullet. I'm tired of hearing about his arm, by the way, and his little hands and all that crap.
It proved right then,
12 degrees below zero and everything else here, all the stuff that wasn't supposed to be possible, So if we're going to talk about something mythical, is the fact that people didn't believe he could sling it like that. That's the only mythical thing about that play. Yeah, let's it was quite the weekend. Let's do this again tomorrow, Moan.
Yeah, by the way, there's just a whole lot of extra in this too, man. So for the people that say we went too short, hey, we're feeling generous.
Yeah, every once in a while. Christmas leftovers.
Yeah, Christmas leftovers.